Hello, I'm Gary Feldman, and today we're going to talk about customer-centric strategy. Strategy is a plan to create value, where we define value as the difference between the cost of producing a product or service compared to the amount a customer is willing to pay for it. A classic example of value creation is with coffee. People are willing to pay more for a Starbucks than other brands, even when the costs may be the same. Value is defined by the customer who may be willing to pay more for prestige, comfort, functionality, or belonging to the community. Strategy is an approach to positioning your organization in the market which will lead to success as you define it. Profit is the most common measure of success, but not always. Growing market share may be more important measure in a new endeavor, or customer satisfaction could be the measure in a not-for-profit. So if we define value as the difference of the willingness to pay versus the willingness to sell, we have to understand that price is not always the most a customer is willing to pay for a product or service, and cost is typically not the least a supplier is willing to accept for a product or service. So you can create greater margin by increasing the amount the customer is willing to pay through product quality, complementary products, or bundling, or through network effects such as social media influences or belonging to the community. You can also increase margin by finding ways to lower the amount a supplier is willing to accept for a product or service. So, for employees, you could potentially create a greater work life balance, or you could offer to increase value, such as providing more training, or you could work with suppliers by expanding the products that you might buy from them, or creating a blanket purchase agreements, or other ways to reduce risk for the suppliers. In most markets, there are more than the core players, the company and its customers and its suppliers. For the manufacturer of a product, we often have middlemen, distributors, or service providers who acquire a portion of the value created for their own profit. So we also have to make sure that we look at our employees as suppliers as much as we look at our vendors. So I've spent almost 40 years working with business management software developers. And if we look at the ecosystem for mid-market or small to mid-market business management software, there are multiple players. Software companies have their employees who write the software and the vendors who provide coding tools, equipment, all sorts of things, as well as the customer who buys or subscribes to the software as a service or purchases perpetual licenses. But there's more. There are typically consulting partners between the customer and the software developer, and third-party products that provide additional functionality to the core product. These external parties must increase the customer's willingness to pay to create the opportunity for profit or customer delight in order to earn their share of value. Consultants can improve the efficiency in the use of the software or provide other advice which are perceived value to the customer. And often, third-party enhancements like barcode scanning, for example, and warehouse management are critical to the sale of the core software. When publishers choose a channel strategy to increase value, they're placing a third party between themselves and the customer. The consulting partner becomes both a supplier and a customer of the manufacturer, the software company. And the channel often becomes the distributor of the third-party enhancements as well. So the channel strategy adds a new competency required to the manufacturer channel program development. The channel program has to lower the willingness to sell from the suppliers and increase the willingness to pay from the customers in order to increase value. So if the publisher programs make it easier to sell more volume for their channel partners, the distributor may accept a lower margin. Similarly, if the channel program increases the end customer satisfaction, it often increases the willingness to pay. So channel programs must include components like product training, marketing materials, sales incentives. Tons of other components are available to increase the value of the product, the software, to the customer. With the rise of software as a service and subscription over perpetual license sales, many software publishers have decided to sell direct. In most cases, the major software developers who choose this model will still have consulting partners and third-party products which enhance their software. For example, Avalara is a leading sales tax service for business management software. Their products are sold pretty much with every accounting software, regardless of whether a publisher chooses a direct or a channel strategy. So selling direct typically adds an additional competency to provide services. Just as manufacturers can service their own products or have certified service technicians or companies, ERP providers like NetSuite or Epicor typically have professional services group which performs implementation services when they sell the licenses directly. Even when they use this direct sales strategy, the software companies typically will maintain a program for third-party service technicians to provide additional capacity to service customers. So they still have the program management competency, and now they've added a service competency. But in both channel and direct sales strategy, the customer-centric model is critical for maximizing the willingness to pay for products and services. Without this customer-centric focus, companies will always leave money on the table. To summarize, the customer-centric strategy begins and ends with the customer. The customer is the source of revenue and the primary arbiter of value. Nothing else matters if you can't win the hearts and minds of your customers. Distributors and channel partners are generally smaller entities which are closer to the partner than a manufacturer or a software publisher. However, they don't own the intellectual property or make the widgets, so customer service is frequently their value creation mechanism. Distributors and channels create multiple routes to market for a company's products or services and can increase both the top line sales and the ability to service, the breadth of ability to service new and existing customers. With channels comes the requirement for a program that defines the rules of engagement, competency requirements, compensation, and more. These programs should be aligned from the top to the bottom to ensure synergy and maximize value. The more focused or homogeneous your market is, the more targeted your value propositions can be. People want to buy products used by people like them or who they aspire to be. They need capabilities that are specific to their industry, and they want to know that you understand their needs and that when you make the value propositions, they can trust you. In the software industry, publishers like Sage and Microsoft have urged their channel partners to make industry editions of their product. The industry-specific edition can have packaged components with pre-configuration to reduce the time and effort to implement. Vertical market editions also increase trust through risk reduction and repeatability of their processes. Even when publishers like Acumatica and Oracle NetSuite sell industry editions, they are typically bundles of software which require a service package from a partner or professional services group. When creating a customer-centric strategy, start with the why from your company. iBusiness Network helps companies improve their productivity and effectiveness in order to create competitive advantage. How we accomplish this, our why, has evolved over time, but why we exist has not. The more defined your target market is, the easier it will be to have a clear understanding of the value for that market. Although we could sell our services to everyone, we define our target market by industry size and other factors. Keep the supply side in mind as you develop your strategy. We have always known that we are not IBM, but IBN. And as a small business, we could not attract the same talent or offer global relocations as a benefit. However, from our inception, we had work-life balance as a core value. So keep your value propositions simple and understanding. As the first hosting company for mid-market ERP, initially we were a fish out of water trying to explain what we did. We had to adjust our messaging from technology to a language of service. Powerful business technology made simple. What do? We make powerful business technology simple. We didn't talk about the technology. We didn't talk about all the jargon. We just tried to make sure that small and mid-sized business owners, knew that they could come for a solution that was reliable and that they would have personalized service that would increase the value of the software that we offered in this new model. A customer-centric strategy is not a plan, but an approach to position your company in the market to increase value to customers and suppliers that it will create an opportunity for greater profits. There is no certainty in strategy, and it is not about the tactics. It's all about clearly defining and understanding your target market and its perception of value. If you want to learn more, visit our website. There are many forms out there that will allow you to get a free initial consultation and see if there's any way that we can add value to your business. I hope you found this interesting, informative, and educational, and I look forward to seeing you sometime in the not too distant future.